I'm recording this video because I'm lonely.
There's a silent epidemic no one wants to talk about. It's not just loneliness, not just anxiety. It's deeper. It's emotional, psychological. Men everywhere are falling apart inside, and they don't know why. They say you're unmotivated, lazy, emotionally unavailable. But no one ever asked what it actually feels like to be a man in a world that no longer tells you how to be one. This is the crisis of modern masculinity. And if you've been feeling disconnected, lost, or numb inside, you're not alone and you're not broken. You're responding to a world that has quietly stripped men of their purpose and offered nothing real in return. You scroll social media. Everyone looks confident, successful, in love. You watch guys in suits talking about money. You see influencers surrounded by women. It looks effortless, but you're just trying to feel something. Dating feels like a game you weren't taught the rules to. Relationships feel distant. And honestly, you don't even know if you want one, or if you just want to avoid being alone for too long. More young men than ever are single, and not because they want to be, because connection feels out of reach. You hear the stats, but let's talk about how that looks in real life. You're living at home. You haven't had a date in over a year. You avoid eye contact with women, not because you're shy, but because you feel invisible. You used to have hobbies. Now you just consume content. You used to laugh more. And worst of all, you don't feel like yourself anymore. This isn't just about dating. This is about disconnection from your masculine core, from your drive, your direction, your inner fire. You weren't born emotionally numb. You weren't born weak or indecisive. You were born with fire, with drive. You wanted to run, to win, to protect, to explore. But that fire's been buried, buried under years of shame for speaking up, punishment for being too rough, messages that said, be more sensitive or be less intense. And let's be real, most of those messages didn't come with any better alternative. Real masculinity isn't toxic. It's missing. It's not about control. It's not about status. It's about clarity, courage, conviction. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind of energy that makes a woman feel safe, not manipulated. The kind of man that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. He adapts, he holds the line, he shows up anyway. But most men were never shown how to build this. And so let's rebuild it from the inside out. Here's the truth. If you don't learn how to channel your fire, it will either burn you out or fizzle into passivity. Society told you aggression was dangerous, so you suppressed it. You became agreeable, apologetic. You second guess your opinions. You keep your head down to avoid being seen as intimidating. But healthy aggression isn't about violence. It's about energy. Energy that protects, that asserts, that moves things forward. Let's say you're on a date. She playfully tests you, says something sarcastic. Most guys freeze, laugh nervously, change the subject. But you lean back, smile, and say, that's cute. But I don't play that game. You didn't escalate. You didn't fold. You asserted, calmly, clearly. That's masculine clarity. That's grounded power. Build this by lifting weights with consistency, martial arts, or boxing to connect with physical energy, journaling your emotional triggers, sitting in discomfort instead of escaping it. Every time you hold that tension instead of running, you strengthen your presence. Let's be honest. Most guys jump into relationships not because they're ready, but because they're uncomfortable being alone. They want validation, distraction, something to chase. But here's the catch. You can't attract the right woman if you haven't attracted your true self yet. If you don't know what you value, if you haven't made peace with your own thoughts, if your confidence depends on someone else's attention, then no relationship will ever feel secure. Solitude doesn't mean isolation. It means integration, turning your phone off for a full day, journaling what you actually want in life, not what others expect, walking in silence, reflecting without music or input, asking yourself, what kind of man do I want to become? You don't build confidence by reading quotes. You build it by knowing your own voice so well that nothing can drown it out. Most guys think the risk in dating is making the first move, But the real risk is emotional. It's putting yourself out there and letting someone see your real hopes, your real fear of not being enough. Let's say you like someone, but you don't know how they feel. You've been texting, but never say how you really feel. Because what if they pull away? What if you look desperate? So you play it cool, you keep it surface level, you act chill. And what happens? You lose her. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you never showed up real. The truth is, vulnerability is masculine. When it's owned, not outsourced. When it's not needy, but honest. Here's how I feel. If it's not mutual, that's okay, but I won't pretend anymore. That's courage. And most guys never even try it. Not in a reckless way, but with urgency. So many men are emotionally dead by 30. They move through life like ghosts. They chase dopamine. They settle for lukewarm friendships and passionless dating. Because deep down they forgot something. Time is running out. That version of you who wanted more out of life, he's waiting. That woman you dream of connecting with, she's waiting for a version of you who shows up with truth. When you live like time is precious, you drop the need to impress. Say what needs to be said. Cut off relationships that drain you. Build friendships that sharpen you. Stop chasing women and start attracting them. You become a man worth remembering and a man worth loving. So why does all of this aggression, solitude, vulnerability, urgency actually matter in dating? Because dating isn't just a game of tactics. It's a reflection of who you are inside. Women aren't looking for a perfect man. They're looking for a present one. One who is centered because he's faced his own chaos. One who listens because he's not afraid of silence. One who owns his flaws because he's stopped hiding from himself. When you channel healthy aggression, you develop backbone. When you spend time in solitude, you discover who you really are. When you choose vulnerability, you create emotional connection. When you live like time matters, you stop wasting it on meaningless flings, on shallow validation, on pretending. And when you bring that man into the dating world, everything shifts. You go from chasing to choosing, impressing to expressing, and hiding to leading. And women feel that deeply. Not because you've tricked them, but because you've become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chased. You naturally draw people in because you're no longer trying to win love. You're ready to give it from a place of truth. Ask yourself, am I building a life that feels strong or just scrolling through one that looks good? Am I running from rejection or facing it to grow? Am I living as the man I admire or just surviving as the man I settled into? The masculinity crisis wasn't your fault, but healing it is your responsibility. Start with one thing. Meditate for 5 minutes. Do 10 push-ups with presence. Send that message you've been avoiding. Write down the kind of man you'd respect and become him. Because when you stop abandoning yourself, you stop attracting people who do the same, and that is how you stop surviving and start leading.